9 fleeting seconds. That was the chilling call's entire duration. 3 minutes after shooting off a pair of texts to the grieving relatives, a Hawthorne resident supposedly grabbed his receiver and dialed their number, remaining connected for exactly 9 seconds. 9 seconds offers absolutely no window for a real conversation. You can scarcely verify the other person picked up. Yet, that brief 9-second connection placed on February 4th's late afternoon, 2026 remains incredibly well documented within the hunt for Nancy, because federal prosecutors detailed every single moment inside a formal United States District Court filing. Authorities claim 42-year-old Derek Kella from Hawthorne, California, was the voice on the line. Federal officials quickly verified that the suspect was a complete fraud. He completely lacked any ties to her actual disappearance, supposedly tracking the mystery via news broadcasts. He scoured a shady online forum to dig up personal phone numbers belonging to a pair of closest relatives, subsequently firing off digital messages demanding cryptocurrency payouts. Law enforcement slapped cuffs on him 24 hours later. United States Attorney Timothy Chain noted they built their entire prosecution in under 24 hours, yet almost nobody bothered pausing to ponder a critical mystery. The suspect never contacted Savannah Guthrie directly. He completely bypassed the official federal hotline. He avoided reaching out to legal representatives, media managers, or those highly visible spokespeople that an amateur sleuth watching the news could effortlessly track down online. Court documents reveal his targets were actually Annie Guthrie and her life partner Tommaso Cion, sending identical digital threats to each independently that afternoon. Annie is the missing woman's child, making Tommaso the son-in-law. The man works as a science educator at a local academy, lacking any sort of celebrity status whatsoever. His private cell digits were somehow exposed in a location where a random Californian easily grabbed them while merely watching the family's brief social media plea. Nobody has officially explained how those contact details leaked. This scammer isn't our main focus. Detectives wrapped his prosecution up neatly and swiftly, yet the underlying mystery he unraveled remains entirely unresolved. While tech experts busily analyzed his digital footprint and tracked an internet connection back to that California residence, agents were simultaneously dissecting a terrifying physical demand. The initial legitimate extortion letter, which was delivered straight to an Arizona newsroom well before the fraudster ever dialed out. Crucially, this particular document featured a pair of highly specific facts regarding the victim's residence that federal agents swore were classified. Throughout this broadcast, our investigative team will meticulously reconstruct the entire extortion timeline, presenting every single message exactly as it happened, identifying the exact recipients, logging precise delivery times, analyzing the chilling contents, and exploring how this specific chain of occurrences, when weighed against verified police evidence, demands actual answers rather than absolute secrecy. Don't look away. Tommaso Cion entered the world on June 18, 1975, right in San Giovanni Valdarno, a tiny commune nestled amid Italy's central hills. Relocating to America back in 2006, he tied the knot with Annie that same calendar year, making his permanent home out in the desert. He currently instructs 6th grade natural sciences alongside advanced biology courses at Basis Oro Valley Academy. The man has held this teaching position for well over 10 years. According to an official faculty biography, his pupils view him as an enthusiastic educator who desperately wants children to thrive beyond school walls. A vintage profile from the Tapulin Cultural Association claims he pens literature during his free time, researches local reptile populations, strums a bass guitar, and crafts authentic Italian noodles. Public consensus paints him as a gentle, artistic soul whose existence revolves entirely around his loved ones, education, and harmonious melodies. Around April 2007, he joined forces with a pair of local artists via online classifieds and print advertisements to launch an indie group dubbed Early Black. He handled the rhythm section alongside vocals. Their gigs mostly happened at neighborhood bars, with rare trips to neighboring towns. Stardom eluded them completely. They functioned as a typical blue-collar ensemble, representing the exact type of weekend passion project that regular, employed folks establish strictly for fun Absolutely nothing regarding his musical endeavors or his quiet southwestern lifestyle suggested he would ever become entangled in a massive nationwide controversy. His spouse, an accomplished writer named Annie, successfully published a critically acclaimed literary collection titled The Good Dark. Working as promotional lead for the local university's Poetry Foundation, she frequently organizes massive nationwide conventions focused strictly on experimental spoken word art. During a 2013 interview with a prominent women's publication, reporters questioned her about her artistic muse. Her response was immediate: "Tommaso remains my absolute best mentor. The man easily brings dreams into reality. His daily existence is basically a beautiful verse." The couple shares a single child together, residing merely 4 miles away from the isolated residence of the vanished matriarch. During Christmas 2025, 5 weeks before she vanished, the elderly victim uploaded a cheerful snapshot online. That digital image clearly shows her son-in-law posing right beside her while cradling a dark-haired canine. Everyone wore matching sleepwear. Her caption simply read, "Wishing you a joyous holiday, my lovely darlings." The nightmare began instantly, prompting Jimmy Eat World percussionist Zach Lind, married to Nancy's niece, to sound the alarm on X right after she vanished. Tommy and Annie stand out as incredible folks and devoted caregivers who consistently looked after Nancy every single day, defining their true, genuine character. They aren't mere fictional profiles, but real relatives sharing weekend meals alongside an 84-year-old grandmother unable to navigate the dark streets safely. She constantly trusted her loved ones for secure rides back to her residence, a routine they seamlessly executed on hundreds of prior occasions. During the late afternoon of January 31st, 2026, Nancy caught a rideshare heading toward Annie and Tommaso's residence at precisely 5:32. The family shared a warm supper, based upon the Puma County Authority's schedule verified during their February 5th media briefing. Tommaso transported Nancy back roughly around 9:48. With her garage ceiling shut at 9:50, Tommaso reported lingering outside until she safely entered the premises, subsequently navigating his vehicle the 4 miles towards his personal property. This marks the absolute final verifiable moment from that dusk. What truly unfolded next? The sinister mystery of what transpired indoors during those 4 hours connecting the sealed garage and a disabled lens remains a completely unresolved public puzzle. Official government indictments against Derek Kalla bury a striking element that mainstream media essentially brushed off as a trivial afterthought. Yet this specific clue vividly reveals precisely what detectives uncovered upon stepping into Nancy Guthrie's residence the subsequent morning. Legal filings indicate the missing woman abandoned her purse, automobile, mobile device, auditory assistance equipment, and all essential prescriptions. All personal items connecting her to normal routines sat perfectly in their customary spots, leaving only Nancy herself utterly vanished. Crucial cardiac pills remained completely undisturbed atop the cooking surface, a vital prescription she desperately needed to consume around 10 at night. Having returned between 9:45 and 9:50, the elderly victim possessed merely 5 to 15 short minutes before her mandatory dosage. Puma County authorities emphasized her inability to outlive 24 hours without those critical drugs, which officers discovered completely abandoned the ensuing dawn. Exactly at 1:47 early on February 1st, the security lens guarding Nancy's main entrance abruptly lost its digital connection. Federal agents distributed that specific recording on February 10th, detailing the chilling visual evidence secured moments prior to the total transmission failure. A weaponized intruder appeared sporting a facial covering, dark outerwear, hand protection, plus a 25-liter Ozark Trail rucksack alongside a clearly exposed firearm carrier. This suspect avoided a straightforward path to the entryway, maneuvering instead with calculated precision regarding the surveillance system's exact placement. Keeping his face concealed downwards, the perpetrator weaponized a snapped branch from surrounding shrubs to carefully obscure the view instead of smashing the device. Enter renowned specialist Jennifer Coffender. This former federal investigator, following the mystery since day one, informed Newsweek how that 3-second video definitively exposed an infiltrator possessing deep familiarity with the estate. Scurrying purposefully with a lowered posture straight toward the equipment proves immense geographical awareness, a level of foreknowledge she classified as strictly confidential insider intel. She concluded that labeling this anything besides a purposefully targeted hit defies all logic entirely. Roughly 25 minutes following the initial feed blackout, another localized surveillance system successfully registered suspicious activity happening nearby. As revealed during the February 5th police briefing, Nancy Guthrie's internal cardiac device tragically ceased communicating with her cellular phone at exactly 2:28 overnight. This critical implant tracking her nocturnal pulse unexpectedly flatlined into complete digital silence. Promptly at 2:36 before dawn, an adjacent property's Ring security setup situated roughly 2.5 miles from Nancy's residence filmed a speeding automobile. NBC News reported that lead detectives acknowledged possessing this crucial tape and actively analyzing its high-speed contents for leads. Approaching mid-morning on February 1st, a close companion anticipated Nancy logging into their customary digital Sunday worship gathering. The elderly woman vanished entirely, prompting unanswered phone calls, a panicked conversation with Annie, and a desperate familial sweep of the empty property. Discovering nothing, they dialed 911 by midday, bringing officers who quickly spotted crimson stains splattered across the exterior entryway. Laboratory analysis positively identified Nancy's DNA, while an insider speaking with CBS News disclosed that additional gruesome traces painted the interior floors too. Authorities instantly locked down the dwelling as an active forensic zone, summoning elite murder detectives to take command. Federal agents took full control shortly after, shifting the core mystery beyond simply identifying the shadowy figure lurking outside at 1:47 overnight. The real terror lies in discovering who possessed enough architectural knowledge to orchestrate the aftermath. On February 2nd, under 24 hours post 911 call, a threatening extortion message landed directly in the digital tip inbox of KOL, the local CBS broadcasting branch stationed in Tucson. This manifesto demanded cryptocurrency, supplying a specific digital wallet code alongside a strict ticking clock. If you find yourself questioning why a criminal would forward a ransom demand toward a regional broadcast channel instead of the victim's panicked relatives or the police, your instincts are absolutely flawless. This terrifying message ultimately targeted a broadcasting hub deeply entrenched in reporting the mystery. Situated in a town, the perpetrator navigated masterfully, utilizing an untraceable public submission gateway. Furthermore, top-tier police authorities quickly highlighted a terrifying reality. The document showcased a pair of heavily guarded secrets regarding Nancy Guthrie's estate, the exact placement of her Apple Watch alongside classified knowledge concerning an exterior security light. Boom, those two terrifying breadcrumbs instantly flipped the script on what detectives thought they were reading. Crafting an extortion letter that actually forces the cops to pay attention requires a brilliant strategy, meaning the writer desperately needed to drop unreleased facts, dark secrets exclusively known by an intruder who either meticulously stalked the property or physically breached its walls. This menacing document delivered perfectly on that front, sparking immediate intrigue from federal agents. Multiple insiders confirmed. Harvey Levin from TMZ even told News Nation that those specific Apple Watch details totally hooked the authorities, completely overshadowing the standard Bitcoin request. Their intense focus zeroed in on the sheer terror of what that precise item placement revealed regarding the author. By February 4th, a mere 48 hours following the initial threat delivered to KOL, Nancy's kids uploaded an emotional clip online featuring Savannah, Annie, and Cameron standing together to speak face-to-face with their mom's captor. Acknowledging the extortion demands publicly, the heartbroken siblings made it incredibly clear they were prepared to negotiate, begging for solid verification of life. The desperate family pleaded with the abductor to establish immediate contact. Savannah passionately urged in the widely shared public broadcast, "We genuinely need your message, and our ears are completely open. Please, drop a line." The heartbreaking footage was universally accessible, eventually catching the predatory eye of Derek Calla in Hawthorne, California. By his own bizarre admission to federal authorities, he had been obsessively tracking the tragedy on television, and mere moments after the upload, he deployed a specialized software to generate an untraceable burner digit, effectively bypassing his primary mobile provider completely in order to blast the exact same phantom text toward a pair of targets. Court documents legally named the recipients as Annie Guthrie and Tommaso Sion, who received an ominous ping Did you get the Bitcoin? Still expecting the transfer to go through over here. 3 minutes post-text. He supposedly dialed 1, hanging up after exactly 9 ticks. Agents quickly backtracked that phantom line through basic web sleuthing, unearthing the underlying email credentials it relied upon, which led straight to a router at Kala's California residence, resulting in his immediate apprehension on February 5th, confessing to the harassment. The suspect claimed he scoured a shadowy data broker site to dig up the victim's private digits. His bizarre excuse revolved around simply testing the waters to prompt any sort of reaction from the relatives. Justice officials heavily clarified that his malicious prank bore absolutely zero connection to the legitimate threats mailed to the press, proving him an outright fake. The guy held zero blame for Nancy's vanishing, a swift and airtight conclusion that detectives still firmly stand behind today. Yet, this annoying detour exposed a deeply unsettling mystery that law enforcement continues to dodge in their official briefings. How did the private digits of a 6th grade educator from Tucson, a totally average guy, without fame or governmental clout, completely absent from standard press directories, end up leaked on a hacker forum mere hours after the tragedy hit national headlines? This alarming detail is anchored strictly in the official court filings, completely separating it from idle rumors or wild guesswork. The narrative directly mirrors his federal confession, which agents deliberately chose to highlight within their sworn legal paperwork submitted to a judge. Sheriff Nanos officially exonerated Tommaso Cioni entirely, extending that exact same innocent verdict to the entire Guthrie household without hesitation. The head detective declared this absolution loudly for the cameras, putting the family's innocence permanently on the official books. Therefore, every single remaining doubt circles solely around the police's silence, leaving the innocent relatives alone while totally focusing on the glaring investigative gaps. KOL caught the initial threat, while TMZ and KU9 got pinged roughly 12 hours later, all distinctly local Tucson networks. Charles Latibaudiere over at TMZ insisted the menacing script felt intimately connected to the surrounding desert city's unique vibe. A strange local flavor definitely tainted the paragraphs, especially regarding the strict protocol for successfully securing the cryptocurrency stash. Laying out the brutal aftermath and intentionally targeting hometown broadcasts basically screams that our culprit resides right here in Tucson, giving us absolutely massive confidence that this entire terrifying ordeal originated with someone intimately familiar with the local desert community. An ex-federal operative confidentially explained, telling the New York Post how typing USD instead of a standard $sign felt incredibly foreign, strongly hinting at an overseas culprit or at least a non-native English speaker. Harvey Levin characterized that initial drop as structurally brilliant, boasting absolutely flawless grammatical precision throughout its terrifyingly complex layers. Police forces refused to officially validate if these menacing letters actually belong to the true kidnapper. Yet those same authorities have completely avoided shutting down the terrifying possibility that Nancy's actual abductor effectively penned them. That initial ticking clock expired without a single dime changing hands. Meanwhile, a secondary 5 o'clock threshold on February 9th, verified by Kagan9, also vanished, with the digital wallet remaining completely empty. By February 9th, Savannah valiantly uploaded another heartbreaking clip. "Our mother is absolutely still alive out there, snatched away to parts unknown," she stated, right before News Nation confirmed the second threshold's grim expiration. TMZ soon received a fresh, terrifying dispatch, this time commanding a totally separate digital coin, matching that initial $6 million bounty while painting a grotesquely vivid picture of the bloody consequences for ignoring them, pushing TMZ to instantly alert the FBI. Listen up, because the latest verified leaks regarding these extortion demands are absolutely bone-chilling. Several letters dropped, countless timeframes missed, zero cash exchanged, and absolutely zero survival evidence. Hidden within that initial letter were a pair of hyper-specific facts regarding a Catalina foothills estate that only an ultimate insider would possess. Here at Cold Case Files USA, we dive into unfolding mysteries by tracking the chronologies, relying solely on vetted informants, and never jumping ahead of actual hard facts. If you crave that level of integrity in true crime, hit that subscribe button immediately. since witnessing the entire extortion sequence unfold with each ultimatum and factual piece slotted perfectly together is an experience practically no other channel offers. That initial extortion letter landed at KOLD on February 2nd. About 12 hours later, a fresh batch of letters hit TMZ and KGUN9. Every single platform targeted either operated locally out of Tucson or maintained massive local influence. The sender completely bypassed New York, Los Angeles, and immense national syndicates, strictly Tucson. One former federal investigator publicly assessing this mystery informed Newsweek that the featured intruder captured on security video approached that entry lens with incredibly calculated stealth, face hidden, fully aware of the recording angle. That expert labeled it deep inside knowledge, noting that treating this incident as anything besides a highly premeditated attack is totally absurd. Just weigh those two distinct factors side by side. An intruder already aware of the security layout prior to advancing toward the entryway. Extortion letters mailed specifically to regional Tucson broadcasters instead of massive mainstream networks, drafted with utterly flawless syntax. Exactly as TMZ creator Harvey Levin explained to News Nation. Incredibly complex and intricate, mentioning specific items like a security beacon and an Apple Watch kept indoors, which were entirely absent from all public bulletins and journalistic coverage. Federal agents verified these exact facts remained heavily classified. Authorities stressed their severe approach to these communiques, adding that the actual phrasing of the letters, based on statements from TMZ and KOLD leadership, pointed toward an individual possessing deep local knowledge regarding which specific regional broadcasters to involve. Former federal investigator Jennifer Coffindaffer pushed the envelope far beyond what typical commentators are currently speculating. Speaking with Newsweek, she dismissed the notion that the recorded intruder was operating solo, firmly stating her belief that this operation required way more than just a single perpetrator. The expert outlined a probable hierarchy for this abduction, pointing to the individual walking up to the residence, the mastermind orchestrating the whole scheme, and likely a few accomplices tasked with securing Nancy safely off the grid following her capture. Furthermore, she pinpointed the exact demographic capable of leaking the intimate intel required to pull off an orchestration like this: close relatives, an individual on her personal payroll, the swimming facility technician, a maid, a repair worker, or essentially anyone incredibly tight with her, maybe a companion or business partner, while also highlighting the specific topographical layout of that community. She explained to Newsweek that observing the area reveals massive 1 to 3 acre estates. Viewed strictly through the security lens perspective, this residence sits deeply tucked away behind dense clusters of cacti and heavy native brush, reaching that specific entryway at exactly 1:47 a.m., blinding the recording equipment undetected, and successfully extracting an 84-year-old victim silently without alerting a single neighbor, absolutely demanded profound prior knowledge of those specific grounds. This perpetrator was additionally aware that the Nest entry system lacked an active FTS, continuous upload stream to offsite servers. You absolutely cannot deduce that fact from the main road. It requires physical hours spent lingering inside that dwelling or receiving a direct tip from a frequent visitor. Speaking with NBC News during early March, Sheriff Nanos verified that detectives feel confident about grasping the underlying rationale for this atrocity. Naturally, he refused to spill the specifics, pointing toward the delicate nature of an active criminal pursuit. Yet his definitive label for the abduction was calculated zero randomness. Absolutely no crime of opportunity, but completely calculated. An incredibly calculated strike executed by a disguised assailant, perfectly tracking the security lenses, leaving complex extortion letters drafted in deep, syntactically flawless prose forwarded strictly to regional Tucson broadcasters, packed with unreleased facts concerning the private interior of Nancy Guthrie's residence. And buried deep within this whole mess lies the massive mystery of exactly who leaked the critical blueprint, making this nightmare a reality. Once that secondary ultimatum expired on February 9th without a single dime transferred or evidence of survival, the extortion threats just kept pouring in, with News Nation revealing a fresh letter hitting TMZ post-deadline, insisting on an alternative digital token instead, specifically avoiding Bitcoin, though matching the ballpark of the initial $6 million bounty, while brutally outlining the penalties for ignoring them. TMZ quickly alerted the FBI and Charles Latibaudier, their top executive, explained to Elizabeth Vargas reports. We are looking at an incredibly sophisticated shakedown, explicitly dragging the press into the crosshairs. They literally transformed journalistic coverage of this tragedy into the activating mechanism for their payday. Whoever engineered this has basically constructed a tremendously freakish and twisted psychological game for us to navigate. Make no mistake, the mastermind behind these messages watched our every move. This individual tracked each news broadcast obsessively, analyzing the coverage with chilling precision. They never looked away. The suspect undeniably kept a close eye on the press. A shadowy figure consumed every news update, figuring out exactly which details went public and which facts remained hidden. The culprit actively tweaked their messages on the fly, reacting instantly to the latest broadcast updates. You do not gain such an intimate understanding of the unfolding investigation just by catching a brief news segment from across the country. Such incredible insight requires being right in the thick of things. TMZ reported that on February 18th, federal agents contacted Mexican law enforcement to aid their hunt. Officials remain tight-lipped regarding the specific details of that international exchange or any resulting breakthroughs. The massive manhunt suddenly spilled past the boundaries of Tucson, eventually crossing both state lines and international borders. Every single extortion demand, highly confidential fact, and calculated aspect of this brutal abduction, combined with the ever-widening search radius, led to one terrifying reality. The orchestrator executed a meticulously crafted plot, relying heavily on deeply personal access. The exact nature of that infiltration, along with the identity of whoever holds the keys, remains unsolved. Here stands the case today, based entirely upon the absolute latest verified updates. This overview truly exposes the grim reality behind such complex operations. Prosecutors officially slapped Derek Kella with a pair of severe federal charges. His alleged crimes include broadcasting extortion threats across state borders and weaponizing digital networks to terrorize an innocent family. He walked on a $20,000 bond. Detectives now heavily monitor all his digital devices. The judge completely banned him from contacting any victims or witnesses involved in this tragedy. The latest dispatches indicate he remains entirely silent regarding his guilt. While the federal judiciary continues processing his complex legal battle, federal prosecutors made it crystal clear this particular suspect played absolutely zero part in actually kidnapping Nancy Guthrie. Genetic material extracted from handwear abandoned near the crime scene completely failed to trigger a single hit within the National Criminal Registry. News Nation highlighted that the Puma County Sheriff's Team is currently analyzing further biological evidence gathered directly from the devastated property. Detectives pivoted to cutting-edge ancestral tracing, hoping to unmask the perpetrator by linking genetic markers to distant blood relatives, a revolutionary method that recently solved numerous notorious unsolved mysteries by pinpointing family members and tracing the lineage right back to the original killer. Annie Guthrie's own blue Honda CR-V served as Nancy's final ride before vanishing entirely. Federal agents impounded the crossover for over 6 weeks before finally giving it back. A pair of former federal operatives took to national broadcasts, declaring that holding onto the automobile for that long blatantly violated all known standard procedures. Federal authorities completely refused to tell the public exactly what, if anything, they uncovered crucial clues inside the cabin during that lockup. Meanwhile, a tactical team dramatically confiscated a gray Range Rover late on February 13th, hauling it off under intense security. Nobody outside the task force knows who drives that luxury car, nor why detectives decided to impound it. Heart implant telemetry handed detectives a perfectly precise timeline. The gadget stopped syncing at 2:28 in the morning. Cameras then identified the porch visitor at 1:47. Lab technicians verified the crimson stains on the entryway belonged to Nancy, while a CBS News insider leaked the discovery of more gore indoors. Detectives officially verified that the chilling mention of an Apple Watch inside the extortion letter constituted closely guarded, classified knowledge. The initial reviewer characterized the terrifying document's syntax and formatting as incredibly calculated and flawless, providing crucial insight around March 15, 2026. Nancy Guthrie remains missing. Detectives named no suspect, while the federal bounty hit $100,000. The family reward reached $1 million. Billboards displaying the masked suspect's security photo now run across 7 cities. Locations include El Paso, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, Phoenix, Albuquerque, and Los Angeles. Tip lines stay open. Ring Puma County at 520-3514900 or contact the Bureau at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Detectives beg anyone holding tiny puzzle pieces to step forward. Now, pay close attention to the lessons hidden within these extortion attempts. We must deeply analyze this, as it changes how we view similar crimes. Rule number 1, classified knowledge inside threat letters means absolutely everything. Those hidden gems provide more investigative value than the remaining document. Forget the cash request. Ignore the ticking clock, and disregard the digital wallet coordinates. Any obscure fact that absolutely never leaked to the press serves as a massive beacon, guiding detectives straight toward the author's true identity. Looking specifically at the Nancy Guthrie ordeal, the precise location of an Apple Watch and a security lighting mention instantly sent shockwaves through the investigative team. Should a monster ever contact you claiming they snatched your beloved family member, your gut reaction will naturally fixate entirely on their terrifying ultimatum. Resist that urge. Instead, focus on the hidden details exposing exactly what the kidnapper knows. Detectives hunt for those precise slips. They hold the power to blow mysteries wide open. Here is the brutal reality about viral disappearances. Innocent relatives get doxxed almost instantly, with their private personal details getting scraped and blasted across the internet before the story even has time to cool. While a heartbroken family begged for answers on Instagram, Cala tracked down Tommaso Chion's private cell digit by digit on an underground hacker forum. This is a cold fact. So if anyone you know gets dragged into a major criminal investigation, whether they are relatives or simple witnesses, or just casually mentioned associates, they must absolutely lock down their internet presence without delay. Scrapers will quickly snatch up everything from residential addresses and cell networks to job details and private profiles, weaponizing that personal data before relatives can even blink. Point number 3 focuses on extortion demands, where the precise phrasing always exposes exactly how close the kidnappers are. These specific messages bypassed both relatives and massive networks, landing straight onto regional Tucson journalism desks instead. The text featured flawless syntax alongside classified clues, shifting its tone deliberately whenever an ultimatum expired. Ordinary street-level scammers absolutely do not operate like this. This points directly to an arrogant mastermind adapting their strategy on the fly, a psychological fingerprint that seasoned detectives immediately spotted, analyzed, and used for profiling. Federal agents treated these threats with extreme gravity because of those traits, running parallel verification checks to confirm them. Nancy Guthrie posted a festive family snapshot in coordinated sleepwear on Christmas 2025. Standing right beside her with a dark hound, Tommaso smiled above a heartwarming holiday caption. That haunting portrait remains untouched on her public profile. And incredibly, as of March 15th, 2026, the monster who snatched her still roams completely free. Detectives are hunting hard, tip lines stay open, and the massive bounty remains active. If this breakdown gave you crucial insight into how these extortion letters connect to the broader manhunt, please smash the like button to help the system push this content toward true crime followers hungry for actual verified facts rather than baseless rumors. Subscribe to Cold Case Files USA so you never miss our next breakthrough. My upcoming deep dive will finally tackle the massive mystery lurking right beneath today's entire discussion. Exactly how do federal profilers utilize ancestral genetics to crack these complex mysteries? What is the time frame? And what must occur before making an impact? Behind every shocking case lies more than fear. It reveals powerful lessons about awareness, responsibility, and human connection. The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie reminds us how fragile safety can be, even in familiar places we trust the most. It teaches us that danger is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it moves quietly, calculated, and unseen. One of the most important lessons is the value of information. In critical situations, small details, what someone knows, what they say, and what they choose to hide can mean everything. Truth is often buried beneath distraction, and learning to focus on what truly matters can make the difference between confusion and clarity. This story also highlights the importance of protecting personal information. In a digital world, privacy is no longer guaranteed. A single leak can expose innocent people to harm, stress, and manipulation. Staying aware and safeguarding our data is no longer optional, it is essential. Most importantly, it reminds us to stay connected to those we love. Check in, stay present, and never assume everything is fine. Because sometimes, the moments we overlook are the ones that matter most. In the end, awareness is protection, and silence is never the answer.